Once again, good evening, everyone. So, I'll be continuing the discussion about the anatomy of corporate social responsibility and ethics in global business. By the way, my name is Guard Jer Almirol, the second reporter from the Group 1. We expect for tonight's discussion to elaborate the key current company drivers of CSR in global business and tourism hospitality context and identify key current drivers of CSR. To begin with, let's try to take a look at these different quotations from different prominent people in business industry. Now, according to Chef Kaken, what's happening on the inside of the company is being felt on the outside by the customer. And according to Klaus Schwab, the concept of corporate social responsibility or CSR has been long used as an effective lens through which to examine the actions business can take toward ensuring mutual long-term well-being and sustainability. And we think tourism and hospitality really aims into sustainability, right? Now, lastly, we have from Tom Delay, progressive companies regard climate change as an opportunity rather than a threat. Now, these are different concepts, different thinkings, and different motives that drives these different people that talking about CSR and how they adapted to CSR and its businesses. To formally begin, let's try to answer this question. Why do companies adopt CSR? I bet you already know because we have so many forums and other activities that we need to answer and read. But to dig deeper, let's find out why companies adopt corporate social responsibility. One thing is the global trends and fashions that shape the CSR debate. As the industry prosper and rapidly growing, the several issues occurs. Now CSR happens when industrialization begins to increase and prosper, as well as the global trends in terms of market as well as in the society. Now, another thing is the concrete motivation of companies that consider investments in social and environmental activities. Now, companies adopt CSR, and the CSR that they are doing is like having their motivation towards investing in social and environmental activities, which will be later on will be discussed in a later on discussion. Now, why do companies adapt to CSR? Because CSR is a key, there's a key evidence that indicates that there are multiple drivers for CSR in companies. Some companies adopt CSR to improve their relationship with the stakeholders, and these stakeholders involves their customers, regulatory authorities, local communities, NGOs, or simply the external environment of the business. And these definitely include the tourism and hospitality industry businesses. And others think of CSR as a mean to improve operational and efficiency and to reduce costs, and still others are motivated by the market potentials from having a socially responsible image, concern from corporate values, image reputation, and brand is often reported as a key reason for adopting CSR. However, more idealistic motives driven by personal views and beliefs are also common. So as you can see, there is an example how the CSR drivers and company motivated their their work in order for them to gain good company image and later on things. In general, it is relevant to distinguish between these three groups of motives for CSR. So remember, we have different drivers, and these drivers was being driven by these different motives. Now, it was being discussed as these motives can be categorized into three different groups. These are the instrumental, institutional, and emotional motives. First, let's talk about the instrumental motives. Instrumental motives mean that CSR is driven by business related objects or objectives. So these objectives might be reduce the risk of different possible issues that might occur, or cost savings, or simply cut expenses. Now, in some other countries, they really have this law that you will have exemption in terms of taxes. The same thing here in the Philippines, that we have exemptions if you will do community service related things, and there will be like a tax exemption if you do charity works. So these things were being used in few like last decades already from different parts of the world. Now next, let's talk about the institutional drivers. So institutional drivers means that companies are adopting CSR either because they are pressured to do so or simply because they want to imitate other successful organizations, or because it is just considered as normal business practice. So it is institutional driver because it was being driven because it is like a social norm or a norm already in the business sector. So it's like they don't want to be left behind. So what they're trying to do is like um, they will do the same thing as others do. Okay, because if they will not do it, possible they will. Some people might think, or the stakeholders might think that there's something wrong with the organization, or they're not thinking about the society, which is we should really involve with the society, right? That's like one of the things that we need to consider when we have the CSR, or corporate social responsibility. It's our responsibility as a business to help the society to prosper and grow. So next and lastly, we have emotional motives. So emotional motives imply that companies become involved in CSR activities because it is seen as morally right thing to do. So these motives is quite more into emotional instinct, like thinking about the society, thinking about the environment, thinking about this is the right thing to do. This should be improved. This should be like giving back to the environment, to the society. Like you're feeling your guts that you need to do it. So these things involve these motives occur or happens with different reasons, and this becomes one of the drivers for CSR in different businesses and different industry, and this also involves the tourism and hospitality industry or sector. Now, in the next following reports, a special attention is given to the instrumental motives, which have become increasingly prominent in CSR thinking in the last decades. So I want you to hear out the next reporter for you to know the extension, how these drivers motivate the different institution and evolve what is CSR now today. Thank you so much for listening, guys. This will end my discussion. God bless everyone.